Today at the Illumination, we are going to compare these two empires based on these parameters. And we are going to see which one of them gets more points and becomes the winner. Both these empires were two of the biggest, richest and most powerful empires in the world. Both had Muslim rulers, and quite interestingly, both were officially abolished by one power, the British Empire. Both these empires, Ottoman and Mughal, have a lot in common, but in this video, we are going to compare them. Ottoman Empire came much before the Mughal Empire. It was founded around the year 1299 by its first Sultan Osman, while the Mughal Empire was founded about 227 years after the foundation of the Ottoman Empire in 1526 by its first emperor, Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur. Interestingly, Ottoman Empire, which started much before the Mughal Empire, also lasted for a longer time than the Mughal Empire. The Mughal Empire officially ended on 21st September 1857, and for the Ottoman Empire, the year is as late as 1922. So basically, it's 331 years of Mughal Empire versus 623 years of Ottoman Empire. What this means is that the Ottomans were able to make their empire last longer and were more stable than the Mughals. So 1 point to the Ottomans. Talking about wealth, the Mughals probably take the lead. But it's not that simple. There were times when Ottoman Empire was richer than the Mughals, and also the other way around. But since the Indian subcontinent, which was then controlled by the Mughals, has always had a bigger population and larger area under fertile arable land than that of the regions included in the Ottoman Empire, more people working on the fields meant more land revenue to the state. Also, the Mughal economy was a forest-based agricultural economy and relied on trade and commerce. Basically, the Ottomans were wealthier than the Mughals when the Mughal Empire was under the rule of Emperor Babur and his son Humayun, the early Mughal emperors. Because till this time, the Mughal Empire had not expanded to even half of what it would under the later part of Akbar's rule, or a third of what it would under the rule of Aurangzeb. The Mughal Empire became wealthier than the Ottomans during the later part of Akbar's rule and remained so till the mid-18th century. Aurangzeb was the last powerful Mughal who was succeeded by a series of weak and inefficient rulers, under whom the empire became increasingly weak, and this is the time when Mughal Empire became increasingly poorer than the Ottoman Empire after a gap of over 100 years. All in all, the Mughals seem to be bagging a point here. The Mughals were vastly more wealthier and populous. At their height in the reign of Aurangzeb, they had a population of 150 million, the most populous state on earth. The Ottomans, meanwhile, were an empire of only 20 million people. So, 1 point to the Mughals again. The Mughal Empire was spread across the vast Indian subcontinent and parts of eastern Afghanistan, but the Ottoman Empire was spread across 3 continents: Asia, Africa, and Europe. In Asia, it included the Anatolian Plateau and parts of the Mid-East, including Western Arabian Peninsula, which has the region of Hejaz, containing the 2 holy sanctuaries of Makkah and Medina. In Africa, it had Egypt, including the very important Suez Canal, northern parts of modern-day Libya, Tunisia, and Algeria. And the empire had basically covered the southeastern part of Europe, including the modern-day countries like Greece, Bulgaria, Georgia, and many others. So clearly, the Ottoman Empire gets the point here. The Ottomans were masters of 4 seas, that is, Mediterranean Sea, Arabian Sea, Atlantic Ocean, and the Black Sea, and had a considerable powerful navy, while the Mughals never concentrated on sea, and their navy was the weakest and poorest branch of the Mughal military. The empire did maintain warships, but they were relatively small. The fleet also consisted of transport ships. The navy's main duty was to control piracy. Mughals' weak navy was the reason why Portuguese easily bombarded its coast whenever they wished so. So here again, the Ottoman Empire gets 1 point. Containing dozens of ethnicities ranging from the Hungarians to Arabs, the Ottoman Empire was usually tolerant towards different groups. Minorities, including non-Muslims, held important positions in the empire. For example, it was common for a Balkan general to hold high administrative posts in the Middle Eastern provinces after military service. Greeks and Jews dominated the empire's trade and economy, and the Greek Orthodox Church continued to conduct its affairs in Constantinople. A similar trend was seen in the Mughal Empire too, which had many Hindus working at some of the most pivotal positions in Mughal administration. Akbar's rule is most talked about in this aspect. An example of this is OTTOMAN, who was the finance minister of the Mughal Empire during Akbar's rule. He was also referred to as Wakil-e-Sultanat, or Counselor of the Empire. A little known fact is that even Aurangzeb had more Hindu Rajput administrators than Akbar. So in this aspect, both the empires get 1 point each. Ottoman Empire was undoubtedly technologically superior to the Mughal Empire. Some of the greatest advances in medicine were made by the Ottomans. They invented several surgical instruments that are still in use today, such as the forceps, scalpels, pincers, and lancets. A highly recommended video in this regard would be the Sultan Who Changed America, pinned in the comment section below. In that video, you'll know what's common between a cup of coffee, Protestantism, and the discovery of United States of America. So, in this aspect also, the Ottoman Empire gets 1 point, which makes the scoreboard look like this. Mughals 3 points, Ottomans 5 points. So it's a clear victory for the Ottomans. Now don't take anything seriously. This scoreboard thing was just for making this information-based video look more engaging and interesting. By the way, if you want to encourage us to make more such videos, please subscribe to this channel and share this video to your friends.